Can we get that? Come on, techie. Okay, we can stop sharing our screen now. I got to do it each time so I get the flow going on this laptop. Okay, peace and blessings. Welcome to the Tanya 23 experience, where it's always something exciting and we go with the flow and things just work out. So we hope that everybody out there is doing great this evening. We have our wonderful panel tonight. And at Melanin Dialogue, this is our 7th episode together. So we are celebrating that consistency, and that's just wonderful. We've been able to get together 7 times. And tonight's topic is Beyond Borders. Beyond Borders, talking about uniting our particular tribes. And we had a little pre-discussion before we went live, and it was actually in that direction, how we are uniting with one another, coming together, getting out, actually meeting each other face to face, trying to coordinate like minds. And that's what I see happening. It's a wonderful thing. There's so many different branches, and we've met 7 times, and already the tree is built. We started with the root, and then the tree started to grow, and so now we have a full tree, and now we have these branches. And so I say we are moving at quantum speed, and it's a wonderful thing. So tonight's podcast, we are going to talk about building our tribes in a diverse world. Building our tribes, knowing that there is a world out there. Because sometimes, you know how we have all noticed and witnessed different groups that started as a group, and then they grew and they grew, and they were kind of in their own world outside of the the outside world. And so as we grow, we're growing with the consciousness of our tribe within the tribe of diversity. And so I want to turn it over to our panel, and as you give your take on this conversation, give a short description for the viewers who may not be familiar with us. And it looks like we're going to start with Shantae.
Hello, my name is Shantae McLaughlin. I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. So I actually, I didn't really know that in building community in my tribe that I didn't know to include white people. Like, it wasn't until I actually went to do some self-help, and it was a bunch of white people. Um, and they started inviting me places and stuff, and I was, it was different. Like, I was around white people. I grew up with them around, but all of my people that I interacted with every day were Black. And so in having to interact in a self-help way with white people, the irony is I went from being very liberal and open-minded about Black people and white people to being more radical. Like I don't fuck with them unless I have to. And
Mhm.
I say it like that because and this is even with having people who were married into my family, but during the self-help, they tried to make me into a maid. Like I started taking losses with business. None of them wanted to pay me what I've been charging. You know, like my whole life, like I ended up homeless for the for real homeless. And it was just a very painful period of my life. And it was in the realms of self-help. So I say all that to say with building community, um, I look for ways that I can be of service to humanity, but humanity starts at home. So I look for ways that I can add value um, to Black people, primarily. Like, no matter how bad things get, I still won't go back to corporate America because what I'm clear on is when we go and we work in these corporate settings, we educate them on solutions that build their wealth for crumbs from the table. And I refuse to keep educating and edifying them um, while not giving back enough to my community. So if that looks like lifestyle changes, I mean, I'm more for that than I am for building up other communities. So that's where I'm at with the conversation.
Okay. Let me see. Thank you for your contribution. I'm trying to make sure that you guys hear me and see me because I look like I'm frozen. I had to reboot on my end, but it looks like you guys were okay. So if you can hear me, we can continue going. Brother Tashaka Sankofa.
Um, I just think that, and I know that we have the um, we have the resources, we have the power, we have the energy, and the time to actually be self-supporting in all aspects of our being. I mean, we have to rid ourselves of a lot of the schisms and isms in terms of self-hatred, um, selfishness, greed, and this crab in the barrel cutthroat mentality, because we do have the power once again and the resources to develop anything that we so desire. But as a result of the separatism that takes place and divide and conquer mentality that a lot of our people on the whole have uh, incorporated and internalized, this is why we are so divided to this day. We do have, the power to do for self. Anytime we don't do for self and we incorporate other entities, other people, other races, other ethnicities, then somehow we lose control over whatever endeavors that we embark upon. So it has to be uh, in a networking of thousands of us to collaborate to combine our resources, our time, and our energy, and be unselfish, and for once in our lives, be willing to take a risk on one another and develop trust in one another to see a lot of the things uh, that separate us, that we've adapted this mindset of being bought out and being sold out and selling out to once and for all, make things happen. Because a lot of the things that we look at as being so far-fetched and that we perceive to be unreachable are within our reach. We only can, work as a unit, work as a family, work as a nation. And that's another reason why it's so difficult and the global elitists are so reluctant about giving reparations, because they know that we have the power to do whatever it is that we seek out to do and accomplish. Marcus Garvey said, accomplish what you will. And if we incorporate that type of energy and develop this love for one another and want to see, some of the fruits of our labor, actually visualize and visually see, how prosperous we can become if we work together. Because we have this having our hands out mentality. When something goes wrong, we want to get a loan, we want to get a grant, and we open so many doors for people to have a stake in our success, to have a stake in our legacy, to have a stake in our history. And and that's not going to work for us. That's really not going to work for us. It's not working in our favor, and it probably never will. So we have to strategize and link up and network with those who are willing to take a chance and take their risk and trust in one another, so we can develop and be self-supporting. Because this is how they want us. They always want us, to come to them, to ask them for help. And we have a history of that. And this is why we really don't have total control of any entities or corporations to this day. And if you look at anything, whether they say it's black owned or not, if you follow the money trail and the paper trail, it will lead you into the hands somewhere, whether it's the board of directors, whether it's the treasurer or whatever, it will lead you into the hands of people that don't look like us. So we have to, link up and take a risk and trust one another.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I had to write down that bullet point because, and then you said it a second time, trusting one another. That is going to be like the core, the building block, the building block of any group, of any group that has a goal, a collective goal. But that trust, that is just so, like, that is the word, that's the word for tonight as far as the focus. Yes, thank you for that, Brother Sankofa. We have Brother Raheem. Can you hear us? Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Peace and blessings. Great. I want to give you the opportunity to give a short introduction and your take on the question. We were talking about building our tribe within the world, the diverse world, but building our tribe, and that's what we're on our way to. So you can give your take on that.
Just to reiterate what Brother Sankofa was saying, it's definitely trust and honor amongst the tribes, where whether we're related or not, where we trust each other, where we can have our own chairmen, we can have our own treasurers, where a whole black corporations or black organizations where we actually applying for grants, we're getting land, we're getting farmers equipment, we're getting the construction equipment. If you look behind me, certain things like this we could be getting as far as grants and using our own resources, but of course we're gonna have to get government grants. Of course, we don't want shareholders to be the opposite color of us. So we, as Brother Sankofa said, trust is everything and unity. And I believe it's 2024, and I believe everybody is coming on board because a lot of people are awakening to the way the things used to be, where we don't want it to be. We want our own. We want generational wealth. So I totally agree with y'all as far as building the tribe and making it strong, and also vanguarding for our community and vanguarding for our people. We got to protect our people no matter what. Our elders, our youth, our babies, people missing. We got to do that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Brother Raheem. And welcome to the tribe. And then we have Sister Mother Earth.
Peace and blessings to everyone that's on this platform.
Blessings.
My name is Yvette. I'm also known as Mama Earth. I prefer to be called Mama Earth because Earth means healing. Earth means balance. Earth means nurture, nutrition, support. So I adore and I welcome to be called Mama Earth. I totally agree that when 2 or 3 people decide on a subject and they agree with, without knowing what each one is about to say, truth is there. Because trust, before Baba Shaka said it, before Brother Raheem said it, and before you said it, said, that came to me, trust. We don't trust each other because that was strategically designed and developed in us not to trust one another. So we have those who are awakened and those who have the knowledge of the things that we know now. We, as I said in previous shows, we have to be retroactive. We have to pass it on. I bring you on and I show you that you can trust me. That builds your trust. Then you go to someone and you see what I mean, where I'm coming from on that. We have to be the first seeds of the tree of trust for it to grow and develop into leaves and branches and leaves. So it starts with us, the ones that are awakened to knowing what we have to do. We just have to do it. So trust is a major, but we also have to break the ego of those heads in the communities, those who are in position to bring together and collaborate with us all, and we build. Some of them need to step down off the pedestal a little bit, be humble a little bit, because they big headed in their positions. And I read a long time ago, if you broaden yourself and build yourself up, there's a Jamaican saying called, the higher the monkey climb, the more he shows himself. So eventually, if you continue to think that you're such a this or that because you're head of this organization or that organization, and you're a part of this association or that association, and you're head of it, if you think that you won't be embarrassed, you will, because now you exalted yourself above. We must remain balanced no matter what position we find ourselves in. And sometimes it's the ego, not sometimes, it is the ego of those leaders who is keeping us from collaborating together and building on a healthy platform, on a healthy foundation. Because our people have been built on sand for so damn long till they think that it's how it's supposed to be. Oh, well, the house kind of leans a little bit, but it's a house. We have to break what has been set, break it up piece by piece to a small enough to plant seeds in. And that's how you build. That's how we come together as a community, as a unit. Is sometimes, and breaking the ground is hard. You got to take a hammer and hit. If you hitting some hard dirt, you got to hit real hard. If you making that dirt soft so that you can plant seeds, you got to kind of hit it, cultivate it, scrape it, whatever you got to do to it to get it in the condition that it's able to receive seeds. We're, the people out there who have no knowledge of how to bring together a community, they are the dirt that we need to break up and break up. And the seeds is our beliefs, our seeds saying that we can plant business together. We can teach our own children. We can be doctors and lawyers to our own. We don't need you. So we're planting the seeds into, but that seed, that ground hard. We just got to be patient enough to break the ground. It takes patience. It takes love. It takes endurance to break that ground. And once that ground is broken, we ourselves got to be right to plant the seeds or the seed to die.
Absolutely.
So we ourselves have to
Yes.
take and do that shadow work, turning that mirror around and look at ourselves and pull out that thing that don't belong in us and put in so that we can be the bearer of the seeds and be able to help that seed grow.
Mhm.
That's all how you build a community. Togetherness, trusting one another, coming with your ideas. You know how to build a house. I know how to build a car. You know how to take care of babies. I know how to take care of elderly people. And if you know how to do this, that's bringing it all together where we won't need no one else but us. That's how we build.
Absolutely. Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Sister, I'm sorry, Mother Earth. Yes. And next we have Brother Gerald.
Yes. Hello, everyone. This is Gerald Moore. And
Yes.
what I'm going to do is actually be regurgitating what everyone else said since I've come in last. But the fact of the matter is that I understand the tribal aspect of it from an intrinsic point of view of where we all have to play a role. Now, we do know when we could say other ethnic groups when they get together, especially the Caucasian group when they get together, see they talk about making money. That's what brings their community up. They get together and talk about how they can help improve on the things that they have, not take away from it. As I said, we all have a part in the community. We have resources, we have sources. As Shaka said, we have the grants and whatever have you. Sister Chantel brought that out. Mother Earth brought out about the seed. We all can plant seeds. We all have a talent. We all have something to add to the community to help the community grow. So, and basically what we need to do is that we got to come together and remove some of the things that we have problems with. Because sometimes we have problems with people saying things to each other. As they said, the ego's getting away, the pride getting away, emotions getting away. If we could remove all of that and find what's pertinent to helping us to grow and helping us to improve upon each other, that's the way the community is going to grow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Brother Gerald. And so that bullet point also comes up again that I wrote down was the ego, breaking down of the ego. And the leaders have to exemplify that. So, the core group, when you're building a group, you have the core leaders. That is like, I guess you could call the gatekeepers, the ones that exemplify a certain manner and is supposed to be reciprocated, multiplied, or all of us are different and we have our own ways of doing things, but we have that's when the one mind comes in, and yeah, that's like the foundation of holding anything that's going to last together. The leaders have to lead, and as leaders, we're still all growing and whatnot, but we have to be aware of what we need to work on. And as a group, we need to be able, we're going back to the trust, we need to be able to talk to one another about these things. you know, because if we're consciously aware of things we need to work on, then nobody should have to mention it to you. I remember as a child, my mother would say, well, if you know, why do I have to mention it to you? If you know, you should have done it, you know? So it kind of goes back to that as leaders. Yes, absolutely. The ego. So it's trust. Another thing, the first thing was risk. You got to be able to take a risk, take a chance, and be able to build trust and understand we're all still working on our egos, you know, and we need to be able to come to one another, you know, and speak about how we're feeling towards one another or things that we see. And it is all to improve the group, you know. So that, you know, some groups have like, they do oaths, they do whatever, but on a spiritual level, we all just need to have that together. Yes. So those 3 bullet points stuck out: risk, trust, and ego. We have another queen that just joined, and her name is Naima. She's actually a very long time friend of mine that I invited to come into the group. And so, Naima, can you hear us? Can you hear
Yes, I
me?
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, blessings. Yes, I can, loud and clear. Blessings. Thank you for joining us. If you have been listening to the conversation, then you have a gist of what we're speaking about. And give a short introduction of yourself. And let me know if you need me to give you where we are right now in the discussion, in case you weren't
No,
listening.
I was
Yes.
listening, and I'm glad to meet you guys. I'm Naima Kaida, again, a friend of Tanya here, and I
Godmother.
just
She's actually a
thought,
godmother.
yes, and I just had a
Yes, yes,
thought.
yes. We can't see your lovely face, but eventually
Oh,
we
you know
will.
why? Because I'm laying back, honey, and I look a mess, so I didn't want
I
to
get,
scare anybody.
not a problem. Absolutely. Next time
I,
we can come up with an image from how you speak. So sometimes that works better.
okay,
Your light will
I just
shine even more.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a thought, and especially when you're talking about groups and leadership, they always say, if you want to build a nation, you first have to build family. And if you want to break down the nation, the first thing you do is break down family. And our nation, especially our women, we have this disease called absentee daddy. And when daddy's not there and mommy
Mhm.
has to take on all this responsibility on her own, it's hard to go further than your own household in order to be more involved in what's going on in the community, because now you're taking on the responsibility of 2 parents. And I mean, many of us do it anyway, have the energy to do that, but it's a very hard task to accomplish.
Mhm. Absolutely. But it can be done, but it's a
Yes. Oh,
set of
yes.
core rules we have to follow. The family
Mhm.
has to follow. And that you're right about that. I remember growing up myself. My father was the dominant, you know, figure in the household, and yeah, I remember having that instilled in me, and it is very important. It actually is helped me become the person that I am today. I'm a stickler. If I say I'm going to do something, I got to do it. I got to at least try to do it, or let the person know whether I'm not going to do it or not. Communicate with a person. Just don't leave a person hanging for any situation. Um, Yeah, just those core things that help a
Well,
family
now,
be strong.
I did some exactly. What happened with me was I got into social service, came out of corporate America and got into social service, calling myself wanting to do God's work and get paid for it at the same time. And that's one of the
Mm,
things we did. We went through the community door by door, asking family members, what do you see that's needed in this community that you don't have? And
mm,
are you willing to go with us to our leaders to present what it is that we find for this community? And some of it actually worked. We
mm,
had leaders that actually listened. But it's hard when you're in a community that has mixed families. You have an Italian family here, you have a Cuban family here, you have a Jamaican family here. Unless you can really understand their culture along with the community that we're in to blend in, it's a very hard circumstance to try to accomplish. Not
mm-hmm.
saying that it can't be, but it's very hard because you first have to understand that person and their culture
Right.
and
In order
how
to
does that
assist.
relate to what's going on in your community, you know?
Yeah.
And if it's no blending, you're not gonna. It's not gonna. I don't see where it can work. I just don't. And that's why a
Right.
lot of
When you figure.
people in the cities,
Mhm.
why they were saying we need our own community. You know,
Right. Right.
our own law, just like the young lady just said, our own community with our own laws, our own government, and our own rules, and we can raise our own children. Instead of teaching them how to do for others and getting them into corporate America, we can teach them how to do for themselves, you know, how to do what's going to profit them, but something that they can enjoy at the same
Right.
time. So they're not just out there working 9 to 5 for $1,
Right.
but they're doing something that they love and making money at the same time and putting it back
Absolutely.
into our community. Putting it back instead of making the money and then you have to pay rent to somebody else that ain't in the community. You're buying food from other people that's growing your food, that's going back to another community, and our money is not staying in here. And that's why our communities don't look as good as others, because we're not
Right.
doing for self.
And we have to come together. We have to know what we need in the community. I figured, does anybody want to respond to that? Um, just assessing a community. We are, so the name of this is called the Melanin Dialogue. So that means that we're focusing on a melanin community. And like you said, a lot of us do live in mixed communities. And that's why we have to form groups. And in that group, when the people come in, we begin to assess where they need assistance. And usually, like, even in social services, you come in, they do an assessment first, and they get an idea of where you are, what is needed. And just like that's what we do in our families. So that's how the group has to come together. But you're right, people have to come out of the community and form these groups. Anybody would like to respond to that part?
Um, well, to be honest, I'm not interested in nobody else's culture when our culture is in shambles, and this is why it's
Right.
important. Like the young lady was stating, she touched on a lot of good points, but at the same time, we have to, do an external cleansing. And when we talk about the family dynamic, it doesn't necessarily have to be in these days and time as a result of so many different agendas and narratives that have been placed on us, that we have incorporated this Willie Lynch mindset. And like Mom Earth was saying, this ego and these images that,
Mhm.
you have people that you're biologically related to, that you get to a point where y'all have nothing in common. And we've been taught that no matter what your brother or sister done to you, just because y'all biologically connected, that you have to endure, all the hardships and pains and ridicules and tortures and even physical beatings and in some cases fratricide. That we're supposed to accept that based on the fact that you come out of the same womb as an individual. Now you got people that are biologically connected, and then you have family. Family are those who won't judge you, prejudge you, misjudge you, that will take you at face value, that have a vested interest into seeing you part of the upliftment of your energy and your divine vibration, and that will respect you and have an unconditional love for you. Respect being the first and foremost. And so when we are in these communities, we when the young lady touched on the the fatherless homes, instead of us looking at the end result, in which we always do this. We always do this as a people. Let's look at the root of that. What caused fathers to be absent from the homes? Mass incarceration, prison pipeline, unemployment, drugs, lack of vocational, lack of trade, uh, um, education, um, poverty, rejection, um, and these things that were set by design to split
Mhm.
the black family up.
Mhm.
Because when you have a black woman and a black man, strong black man and strong black woman, now in today's society is looked upon as a threat because they have the ability to reproduce generations and generations, and then they have the ability to produce greatness within the children, within the whole family. And this is why college, like the young lady was talking about, working for a corporate structure. That's all these college and universities do in the HBCUs, and they use people that look like us as college professors, teaching us a watered down history and version of ourselves, and they're training them to work in the corporate structure, opposed to other Ivy League and Ivy League universities and colleges. They're taught how to own corporations and be a part of this global economic and global rule. But they teach our children to just be good employees. And this is where I agree with the young lady on that. However, when you're talking about um, the self-love, and this is why in our movement it is required that you do an internal cleansing, because you can't be effective in the community if you're not totally cleansed and have dealt with issues and traumas within yourself. Because we have this thing about we always want to we've incorporated this woe is me mentality, instead of getting busy in the trenches and linking up like this particular show, where like minds are coming together in spite of views and in spite of differences, in spite of religious and uh, spiritual practices and thoughts, processes and ideologies. We already know what we have in common. We already know what our goals are. And then that goes back to what Mom Earth was saying in terms of the egos and images. You know, everybody wants to be in charge. Everybody wants the light to shine on them. Everybody wants the fan to point in their direction when they sleep. And with that comes turmoil, corruption, mistrust among one another. And then it creates so much turmoil. And so what needs to be implemented is that we have to always deal with root cause and issues. And we have to stop focusing on other people. You know, we all want this multicultural, diverse world, and it's just that's a fantasy to a lot of the people that are truly in the trenches, truly putting in the work, can truly see the playing field for what it is and see that how the plays are ran on us every day. But the masses of our people, once again, are under spell work and hypnosis of an illusion and false promises given to our people by those who look like us, that we call gatekeepers, boule, fraternities, and all of these things, that their job is to give our people false hope. And even in the so-called conscious community, which has become just as bad as Black churches, Black mosques, Black temples, where the funneling and the bleeding of money out of our poor, disenfranchised, and impoverished people has become a lick and a bag for those so-called gatekeepers and even those in the conscious community, which I'm not going to mention their names, not on your show, but, you know, I do it on mine with no ifs, ands, or buts. But, you know, the core dynamics to our existence, and in order for us to move on, is the cohesiveness of those of like minds. Because I'm quite sure everybody, or some of you, including myself, are like outcasts in terms of what you stand on, what your belief system is, what your spiritual practices are, how you think, how you function, because truth is not the order of the day any longer. Falsehood, deception, corruption, death, carnage, poverty, struggle, gangster rap, trap music, whopping, twerking, sports, sex, drugs are the order of the day. And so when you are, and when you function contrary to those vices that plague us as a people, you're looked upon as something different. You're always in opposition because you're not part of the social norm. You're not one of the sheep that are in line waiting to go through the machine to be slaughtered. And so that cohesiveness between us as a people, because we're all not going to get along. It's never going to be like that. We need to come to grips and come to terms with that.
Right.
Because if it was like that, we wouldn't have to even have podcasts, because we would be in a better condition. We would be in a better situation. So once again, that goes back to this ego, and I'm the king of this, and nobody can tell me this. I know everything because I worked this place, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I've done this. So, you know, as personal validation, that's only in your own mind that makes you think that you're cut above the rest of the slaves. So we have to be relentless in not only us as a culture, because it's innate in us about our culture. Everything is innate in us. Some of the things we do, it's been a spiritual practice that's been handed down to us. And some of the things we need to relinquish ourselves and exterminate the things that's been handed down to us by our ancestors that they couldn't help it because it was passed to them, but it doesn't work for us today. And it's part of our hindrance in our growth and development as a people to be able to once and for all be non-compromising, because we have this habit that, you know, we don't want to stand straight up and erect because we don't want others who played a role in our oppression to feel uncomfortable when we're standing in our own vibrational frequency. And so it's a you know, the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper than we can imagine, but we must stop looking at the end results. You know, the sister touched on the fatherless home, the child that's out there. We look at the black on black violence, but let's look at the root of it. Let's look at the lack of vocational schools and trade schools, and the mother's on drugs, the father's in and out of jail, he's hanging out, you know, based on depression, sexual abuse, physical abuse, poverty, food stamps, SNAP, TANF. All of those things play a part in the way that our people think and the way, and our children witness this. And so they incorporate that energy too. And so this is how you get all of this commotion and carnage and death to make it appear like we're the worst of the worst. When if you put any other race of people in these conditions that we're currently in, there will be more suicides and just as much murder and carnage, because they will never know how to adapt to some of the most deplorable, inhumane, povertized conditions that no other race on this planet has ever endured and still to this day are enduring than us. And so we got to look deep into this, you know, and it takes research. It takes a cleansing of the soul to be totally effective. And it takes blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a collaborative of people to develop circles, to be able to purge, to be able to trust one another, to be able to have a level of confidentiality, you know, to help each other grow. You know, my job is to feed our people, clothe our people, send them to give them drug referrals to treatment, do groups, do substance abuse groups, but at the same time, make sure all of our platforms, people that are interested and have a message and are willing to coincide as a family, as a nation, to develop your own platform to help one another, because this, you know, I think Mom Earth was saying it, that I'm sick of the talking. Politicians are good talkers. They'll listen to you, but there's no substance and no results. And we see it each and every day. And so instead of us waiting on somebody else to save us, we're gonna have to save ourselves. And we're gonna have to join together with people of like minds with the same intentions, that's gonna go all out, not just for us, but the 3 or 4 generations that are ahead of us, even those that have not even been born yet, that are solely dependent on our fight. Period.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
I'll say mention
One
one
of the
thing, Brother
things
Jim.
that I wrote down that you spoke about was, Sister Naima, can you hear me? I was
Oh yeah,
you can go right
I was
after I'm
just
done, okay?
all
I don't
right.
know if you could hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. One of the okay. One of the things that I had wrote down was that Brother Sankofa talked about was internal cleansings. That's definitely a requirement. I think should be a requirement of the group. I mean, of course, we'll get a unanimous vote or whatever, but yeah, as leaders, I'm sure that we can agree that we need our basis coming in. The group is, and anyone would agree, internal cleansing. Who doesn't need that? You know, so that's a clear marker. If you have someone that we're working with and they're thinking about coming into leadership and they don't think they need an internal cleansing, or they'll pass or whatever. But yeah, no, there's no passing. We can pretty much say, if we can say none of us is perfect, then we can say we all need some cleansing. It has nothing to do with the religious base, is spirit and soul based. So yeah, that was a great thing to incorporate in this leadership, because as we're talking, we're actually building. So this tree is moving at a great rate. So I thank you for what you said, Brother Sankofa. We have, let's see, Sister Naima, give us your comment, and then we're gonna move over to who wants to be next. Sister,
I
let
have
me
a
see.
comment.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want, I
All
didn't
right. So
really have
after
a
Naima, we
comment.
have Shante.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I just wanted to say on the brother that was nice what he said, and when he talked about the struggle that we went through as a nation and still here today, it put a smile on my face because I thought about how powerful the Black woman is that have us here today. I just wanted to mention that.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. That is definitely super important. Let me see. Shante, you're next.
So I agree with everything that Shaka said. The only thing that I'd like to add is I think sometimes we take for granted where we are, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, like everything consciously. And sometimes we are moving, and whether we're in front of the line, in the middle of the line, or the back of the line, there's plenty of people behind us. And this isn't a socioeconomic conversation. This is a conscious conversation. And with moving, we can't be, I mean, we've been an oppressed group. And with us moving, are we moving so fast that we're going to leave everybody behind because they're not where we are, although they may be in conversations that we were in 20 years ago? So how do we reach the people from 20 years ago, or do we just abandon them and just focus on our babies? Like, we don't get to leave people just because they're not where we are. Now, it doesn't mean that they get to sit next to us, that we go sing and skip and sing kumbaya, but it's like we got to be able to work together collectively. And in some conversations, like, there are some people who are out here definitely doing the work, definitely hands down doing the work. And like, for instance, in Atlanta, there's a lot of people who are doing the work, and there's a lot of people that they're around. And I have other conversations from other rooms that I've been in with some of those people, and I'm not going to go there on this platform or any platform because I've said what I needed to say to all parties, where respectfully, due to other relationships, I just won't have any parts. It's like, it's foolish to put your hand in the mouth of a lion and expect not to be bitten. And when you engage, so I'm one of those people where I might get on social media and share conversations from corporate America. It's not to be braggadocious. It's to let people know these are the conversations. These are some of the gatekeepers, and these are some of the opportunities, so that people can look at it. Like, sometimes we gotta lead up. Like, I might share some of my promoters, clubs and everything else. And then out of nowhere, I was like, we don't need any more promoters, and we don't need any more drug dealers. We need pipe fitters. Pipe fitters make 6 figures. Pipe fitters have unions. These are the ways that you can start your business. Like, we got to lead up. You can't just give everybody, you can't just give it to them like that sometimes. Some people can handle it, but everybody can't. And we have to really build some of the community, because some people don't want to read a book. So, like, even to say, get on this live, we're going to be talking some thought-provoking, we'll be having some thought-provoking conversations for 2 hours. Their attention span ain't that. Like, we are in a generation that's come behind crack. What that looks like is we have people who have either recovered, we have people who are on mollies, we have people who think that they can't function without smoking multiple blunts every day. Like, we are in a generation of people who, like, I have boys, and by no means do I, I'm gonna love my boys no matter what. And by no means would I want my boys to come home with boyfriends. And the reality is, we have young males who got turned out at the age of 5 and the age of 10 because they had mothers or fathers who are addicted to crack and might take them to the trap houses and sell them. And now that they're 20 and 30 and they're confused about their sexuality, we throw them away. And some of them, when you have conversations, they really want women. They just don't know how to get a woman because they're 30 years old and they've been prostituted and turned out their whole lives. So when we're in those kinds of conversations and those kinds of situations, do we just turn our backs? So it's like, we got to deal with some of the bigger conversations at hand. Like, I know Queen Offset, one of your lives, you were talking about even the BBLs. Like, I know, so with some of the injections from like the 90s, they don't go away, but they might rot these girls' butts from the inside. They're very painful. Like, I know girls who had them, but they don't go away because they were injecting it. So now that they're at the point of like, I really messed up my life getting shots and these illegal shots that cost me all of my savings, and I can't even sit on my butt without losing the feeling. And if you touch me on it, it tingles down my leg. So what do? Say, oh, you got a BBL, and because you had a BBL, you can't be around me? Like, we can't get, like, if we take that approach, what would make us any less hypocritical than the same Black churches that we talk about, that take people's money, that take people's resources, and don't offer them any hope? We'd be selling people dreams. And it doesn't mean that you give in. Like, we have to stand our ground with what we believe is morally right. Like, we have to go back to a moral society, and we have to create a moral code, but we have to be able to be warm and nurturing to people and let them know that, like, oppression isn't just, food stamps, Section 8, welfare. That's not just oppression. Like, we are all dealing with generations of systemic programming as oppression. It wasn't until the Clinton administration that a Black person could even own or be a part of the telecommunications, which means that all of these years, no Black person could take part in anything media related. So if we know that we've been programmed, and if we're all dealing with deprogramming on different levels, different wavelengths, different frequencies, each one teach one, whatever the cliches are, how do we leave behind somebody else who looks like us just because they're not where we are, although they may be where we were 30 years ago? So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Shanta, for that. What I wrote down from what you said that stood out to me was the code. And also, I was thinking in my journey of working with people, I've met all kinds, and we have to meet people where they're at. It all goes by your level of experience. You see, when you come into contact with these people, and then what I would say add is we have to have a source of referral. Like after they come to us and we do the healing or whatever work that we work with them, we have to have next steps, a referral process. And then we have the leadership in our group. All of us are very experienced. We have years of experience. We're gonna come up with that. We're resourceful people. I know, Brother Sankofa, you have referral services where you can lead people to go, after we feed them, clothe them, whatever it is that they need, then what? So that's where these other referral services come into play. And they may be government agencies, but as long as they can get the assistance that they need, I know we're trying to get our people out of systems, but when they are, like you said, at ground zero, if they're at ground zero, then yeah, it's not intelligent to say they can't they shouldn't take process in systems. Yeah, they're going to need food stamps, they're going to need housing, and these are things that we're not equipped to provide as of yet, but we will have that, because actually it's no need in us working with people if we don't have that next step. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's gonna come, because this
And
is a spiritual
excuse me,
effort, and we're gonna get everything we need. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say this because I'm one of those people that's like, I want some food stamps. I don't have any food stamps. Let me say that, by the way. But what I will say, the reason why I'm talking about food stamps and Medicaid and Medicare, okay, so me being around a lot of really, really wealthy elitists, not just the rich, the wealthy elitist white people and the rural white people. First of all, if we look at global news, turn on CNN, between China and Africa, Russia, they're trying to bankrupt the U.S. dollar to make the U.S. To make China the superpower. And so in doing that, that's where the Bitcoin came from, and why they do the different the chains, the bit chains. And so if they were to actually bankrupt the US dollar, all of that cash on the streets ain't gonna mean anything. So when you see things such as inflated prices for chicken here in Georgia, like some of our senators like Tyson, Purdue, they own the chicken farms. So when we talk about legislation and everything else, when we look at the CDC, when we look at the FDA, like I was watching recently a Netflix special on the mind of Bill Gates, and on one of Shaka's podcasts, I put in there how Bill Gates back in 2016 was working to create a system to split feces, to take our poop and make water, but he was also trying to make a natural fuel. And if you look at 2016, that's when Elon Musk and Tesla actually started really going through the roof. So when you look at things going on with our oceans and everything else, it's ran by solar panels, Tesla. So every time that they create more of these EV electric vehicles, is pulling from the gravitational pull of the earth, impacting the solar system, impacting the water, impacting our food resources. So in places like Detroit, they have one lane that's now a whole grid. That's just for electric vehicles. And then you look at things such as during the time that it went cold last month with the ice, none of the electric vehicles worked because they couldn't fuel. So at some point, a billionaire named Remy Albatrawi actually flew me out of town to Texas. He's on my Facebook, and he has a company called X. He brokered the deal between I think it was Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. So if you notice, Twitter is now X, which means every time you log on to Twitter, that is your data and information that they have access to. These are the same people who are now the owners of Uber and Lyft, because if you notice, with he's the person who did the deal for Uber and Lyft to be a part of Tesla. Microsoft tried to buy Tesla. So I noticed a lot of information, but if you look at things like if and these are only a few of the conversations that I know about. So if you look at the conversation of just like, and I work with this Black guy named Derek Bailey, who has a guy, James Bate, who's a lobbyist out of DC, who's been trying to get electric vehicle portals in every Black household. So these are the legislation that hasn't gone through and people are fighting for. So if every single Black household had an electric portal so that they could afford electric vehicles, and if every electric vehicle pulls from the satellite dishes, how would, like, what would be the impact on our food, our water, and everything else? And if they were to sit there, because if you notice with all of the major car corporations, they're no longer manufacturing the old type of engines. But now we have Bill Gates, who's creating his own fuel. So when you look at everything, you look at 9/11, which allowed the Bush family to be able, like, there is no such thing as illegal wiretaps anymore because of 9/11. So the Bush family and Ted Turner are the two, they own the most privatized prisons in the US. And they also own Halliburton, which makes their money off of war. So every time a combat boot, a bullet, they're the ones who are mass manufacturing this. They make their money off the telecom. So if you just look at a few of those things and you look at our food and you look, and that's like 5 families right there. And that's not even including the Rothschilds or anyone else. So when we start talking about being self-sustaining, if you're not in some of these rooms and these conversations, like I've had these people fly me out and I've sat in hotels. I have pictures with people like this, sitting there hearing some of these conversations or engaging in some of these conversations. So of course they didn't lay it out like that, but after a while, when you start paying attention and doing your own independent research and just looking at some of the other things that's going on, like that submarine that went under the ocean that came up missing, that was Remy's friends. He's, that was some of his friends. And so anytime that you're doing that kind of thing, it's going to impact the fish, the seas, everything. So that's what, so I just wanted to include that part.
Can I
Thank
make a
you
comment
for
on that?
including that.
You can.
Sure.
Can I make a comment on the sister?
Okay, so Naima, I have you coming up. Can you hear me? I just want to, I'll have you coming up. And then, so next is Mama Earth. Hold on one second. So Mama Earth has to go next. We have Raheem and then Sister Naima. I'll let you do your comment. They've been waiting for a while. That's how we got to move a large group. So I'm coming. I'm getting to you, baby. 1 second. Okay, Mama Earth, you're next.
What was the question?
Well, we were talking.
I got lost in
about
the
code.
Yeah, that's what we got lost.
I'm that's easy to do. We were talking about having a code, how we're going to establish people of how we're going to work with people on different levels. That's what Sister Shantae was talking about, you know, being able to work with people at different levels and not leaving, you know, mass people behind. I say we have to meet people where we're at. And then in a group of leadership, of leaders, maybe Sister Shantae, that might be your area where we need somebody to work on legislature. I know you're probably doing that now in your own, on your own journey. So, okay, maybe this is another outlet for that. So, Sister Mama Earth, we can go from there.
Yeah, meeting people where they are, you also have to have an understanding of where they are. I can't tell you how sugar tastes if I've never tasted it. So each person that reach out, they have to have some type of understanding so that they can approach it effectively. So, you know, I tell people I don't look like what I've been through, but then I had to come to the realization that some of us are selected to go through those journeys so that when we encounter those individuals who haven't been sexually molested, who has children who has been sexually molested, women who have did prison time. I can't tell you what time feels like if I've never been incarcerated. See, I know how secluded you feel. I know the challenges of having a CO coming to you, talking to you as if you're beneath them. See, I know what that's about because I did that. I did that, not as much time as some people have, but I did that little bit that introduced me to what it's like to be inside. So that when I encounter someone, and I used to wonder why did I have to experience this? I didn't do nothing wrong, but then I had to come to the realization is when you are chosen, and you are chosen by divine power, you are put in positions that you don't want to be put in. I ain't want to be in no women's detention center in Baltimore or anywhere else, but I was for 7 months. And I saw how they are treated. I saw the disgusting life that you had to live when your toilet is literally a couple of inches away from where your head is. How the toilet and the sink is connected. So if you're drinking water, if you get thirsty and you're drinking water, you don't know if you're drinking toilet water. The conditions of the jails I had to experience. Being a single mother, I had to experience. Being a teenage mother, I had to experience, so that I would be able to go out there and draw those in that know that is suffering because they're raising 2 children and they're 16 years old. A mother who experienced the tragedy of hearing a child being molested by someone she trusted. See, I can go out there and I can reach out to those. So each one of us have to have the tools and be equipped to approach individually.
Yes.
And that's the only way you can break down the barriers of trust. That's the only way that you can break down that barriers of that proverbial wall that people put up where they hide themselves. You can't come and tell me grape juice tastes like grapes if you ain't never tasted it. So how you want to tell me anything? So there are those who have been chosen to walk a certain path so that when they journey to that individual that is either going through it or suffering the trauma of it, those who have the equipment can go to them and pull them in and give them the services or the love. Not sitting there making them your client, but go into where they at. Because I told people in a minute, I'm that one. If you crying, you ain't got to cry by yourself. I'll get on that floor and cry with you. We're going to conquer this together. We're going to fight this war together. And that's what it takes. It takes you to be that committed soul because you already know what it feels like. You done already cried yourself to sleep. You done already not be able to eat. Now you know what that sister or that brother is going through. So grab hold to them, wrap your arms around them, and speak into their lives while they travel through the pain and heal it that way. And each one heal one. But you can't heal me if you don't know what I'm dealing with. So I believe that the ones who have been equipped can only reach out to the ones who is injured or traumatized. And that's how we build a stronger unit in the community.
Facts.
Understanding where you coming from and not judging you, not sitting here and making you feel like, how could you even get into that? Or how, no, you go and you sympathize and you pull that person out of that dark place. And it takes love. We got to learn how to love one another. See, we in a different era now. This whole world is quite different from 20 years ago. It's quite different from 5 years ago. We dealing with some stuff. We dealing with young men on the stage giving a blowjob to Satan on stage where the babies are watching.
Right.
We living in an era that you can turn on the TV and you see two men sitting beside each other holding hands. My son is gay, but my son also know I love him. I love him to the ends of the earth. I gave birth to him. I just don't agree with two same sex coming together because life cannot come from it. I don't give a damn if you adopt 1 million children. They didn't come through your womb. The sperm didn't come through your penis. I let my children know your lifestyle, I cannot live your life for you, and I love you dearly. But don't expect for me to just laugh and grin about it when I don't agree with it. You don't have to treat them disrespectfully. You do not have to call them names. You don't have to make them feel like they're beneath you. And if their same sex come from a trauma, you let them know that they are not their trauma, and your trauma is not you. Now, if you choose to be with a woman and you're a girl, that's up to you. But don't allow the trauma that you went to feed your sexual appetite.
Yes,
you feel like you want to be a man and you're a girl, and don't let your sexual abuse be the excuse for you doing something that you know that even nature does not approve of.
Right.
We cannot walk around licking wounds. If it's not edible, I ain't doing it.
That's powerful. Very powerful.
We cannot lick wounds. We can give them the antidote to kill the poison. We can give them the balm to heal the wounds. But we can't make choices for them. But we can give them the information and love.
Right. And at
it's
this
all
point,
about loving one another.
Yes,
unconditionally. Absolutely. I don't care if you a guy sleeping with a woman, a man, or you a girl sleeping with. I'm gonna love you unconditionally, but I'm gonna tell you my stance. Nature don't agree with it, and I'm a part of nature.
Straight up.
That's right. That's important.
So we have to build it together in truth and honesty and absolutely transparent. See, I'm transparent with mine.
Yes.
Anything that I've been through that can help somebody come through, you want to know what I've been through and why I went through it and how I came out of it and why I'm not staying in it. I'm not going to stay in it and allow it to kill me. Because if I keep it to myself, I can't help you. I can't help the other sister or the other brother. So I got to share my story and ain't ashamed to do it.
That's right.
We all came from a place.
Absolutely.
In a place that we cannot point no fingers. Only finger we can point is a hand to say, come on, I got you.
Right. And when a person's ready to change, that's when they do it, not before. No, absolutely. That's what we need to have, we're energy beings. So that's how we work, You know, that's how we roll. I totally agree with everything that you said, and we want to give brother. Is he still with us? I know he might. I think he's working there. Jaheen.
Raheem.
Okay, well, if he comes back, then we'll put him on. Brother Gerald,
Yeah,
Raheem,
I
yes.
agree with you,
Yes, when he comes back
Mother Earth.
on, I'll bring him.
That was beautifully put. I mean, beautifully put. And the thing that I like to say is that, you know, we have to, when we start talking about, and Shaka brought it out about the dynamics of the family. We can look at every one of us probably can look at it with our families has been dismantled, displaced, and in dismay. Each and every one of us. I don't care whether we had brothers, sisters, or whoever. We had problems in the family, and it became problematic. I don't care whether it was molestation, violence, bullying, or some of the other things that we've gone through. But what I like what Mother Earth said is that what we could do is that we need to talk about it. And not with someone that don't understand, but with somebody that do understand. Because I can't tell somebody about being molested. I don't know nothing about that. But I can tell you about being a drug addict. I can tell you that. I can point those that way out to you and tell you where you're gonna wind up and where you don't want to wind up when you constantly a drug user. And another thing is that what was brought about was the fact that Brother Shaka talked about how our families have gone through the struggle from the post. Well, no, Shantae brought that out about the drug epidemic. We can't keep blaming that. That's a foregone conclusion. A lot of us have gone through that. Some of us that been there. We know what that's about. What we want to be dealing with is the problem today, not what was yesterday. We could say cocaine was something that we grew up with in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s. We're in 2024 for what we know from the Gorgat Canada. But still we can get past that because the thing of it is that we got to deal with each other. And if we can't deal with each other, our families are going to continue to be in disarray as they are now. So the thing we want to stop doing is bringing about the past, because the past can't. We could talk about the past, but we don't have to stay in that stupor of the past, because that's the past. We dealing with now. So we deal with now, and we talking to people about what's going on now, how we can help them now, not in the past, because we can't do nothing about the past. We can't go back and change it. The only way we're gonna prevail if we start doing things that's gonna help each other now. So the drug epidemic is something that plagued us. So it is through Reconstruction when they took the fathers out the household. Some of us are fathers, grandfathers, and great grandfathers now. We can't go back and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a child. When I was a child, this happened and this happened." Sure, that happened with us, but that's not happening with all our children. Because our children now today are a little bit different. Like Mother Earth said, I got a daughter that's a homosexual, and it bothers me. I love her, but I can't accept her lifestyle. That's just her lifestyle. But we don't even talk about it or anything. That's your life. She know I don't agree with it. She'll tell anybody. My father don't agree with that because she know me. I'm not one that's gonna go along with that. That's something that I don't want to see her indulge in, but I can't live her life. But I can tell her one thing: that's not you. But if that's what you choose to do, because as Mama Earth said, that's a choice. If you giving into temptation, guess what? That's what you're gonna do. But me personally, I can't accept it. And so I would say once again, we need to focus on what's right here and now. We can't have our foot in yesterday. We can't have our foot in tomorrow and forget about today.
Absolutely.
May I
I too
rebuttal?
can. I gotta give Sister Naima a chance, and then
Oh,
we'll roll back around.
okay.
Yeah, I just want to add that you never know anybody's walk until you start to get to know them, and they feel that trust that they can open up themselves and share who they are around them. So I am going to admit that my mom was bisexual, so I actually grew up knowing, you know, rejecting it, and then having the love from my mom and being able to accept it because that's my mother, you know. And I understood how she got that route, you know.
Right,
I grew
right.
up with domestic violence
Right.
and things like that, and she was turned off from men. I get it. But she was never turned off from me or my sister. So these are our loved ones, and like you say, we may not agree with it, but we have to show unconditional love. So we've all been in the situation where unconditional love is the answer, and that's a daily task to show it, because we do have our opinions, but we still have to have our opinions in love. Sister Naima.
Oh yes. I wanted to comment with Sister Chantel talking about how many gay people that we have out here today. You know, I'm sure everyone has heard the saying, "You are what you eat." And back, and this is over 50 years ago, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had them sisters, us sisters, canning beans, telling us to grow our own food because your kitchen is your medicine cabinet. When we go out and you think about Kentucky Fried Chicken and all these other fast foods, especially with the chicken, they've put so much the hormones into the chicken until our young ladies are getting their menses at 9, 10, 11 years old. Our
Yeah.
young men, you wonder why so many of them are gay, is because now they're getting hormones that they shouldn't even have in their system. It's this food, if we can take control over what our families are eating, it would cure a lot of things and it would open the mind a whole lot wider to what's even going on in life. So it's just one little thing, but it's a big thing when you look at what the food is doing to us. They used to say, I forgot even what country it was, that they were afraid that they were going to have this weapon of mass destruction. We're living under weapons of mass destruction when we're eating these people's food. It's killing us. It's giving us cancer. Like I said, it's giving ulcers, and it's giving our kids, like I just said, menaces, little girls with breasts 10 and 11 years old, and so many more of our young men that are gay. So I just wanted to put that point out there. And I'm a lover of all men and women, especially my people. I don't care you're gay, straight, whatever you are. It is unconditional love because I tried to study what was happening with us and the personalities that we now possess. Do you know that when this man is studying chemistry and you talk about melanin, chemistry and melanin is really the study of the black man. By the black man being the original man, and he's studying chemistry, and chemistry is the study of man, then he's studying us. Melanin is what causes our skin to be the colors that we are. Mine's a little bit lighter than y'all, but but I still got it, and that's us. That's us. And that's why they bottle the melanin so that these white folks can get a tan, you know? So just knowing who we are and the powers that we are, if we're eating the right food and nurturing our minds right, when you look in that mirror, you're looking at a God that has a lot of power to help our communities.
That's right. That's right. Facts.
That's all
Yes,
I had to
indeed.
say, sis.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. I agree with everything that you said. We talked about, again, so some of the points that we came out with our conversation tonight that I wrote down. Um, Networking, unconditional love, ego building and breaking, trust, risk, um, taking chances to get to know people, or whatever it requires to do your work. Um, Code, having a code, internal cleansings, respect, honesty, and unconditional love. And all of those things fit together like a atom link. It just all fits together. And so when we have these building blocks, we're on our way. All we got to do is go get the people, you know. And we're all to a point, we're all at a point where we're we're still on our own personal journeys, and like you said, with our experience and learning others experiences, because I'm a firm believer that you don't always have to experience something to help someone. You can observe what somebody else went through. Like, say you have a family, a brother and sister, but you are the brother that went to school, but you had the brother that was hellbound for the streets and whatnot. You
Absolutely.
can look at what they're going through and figure out, determine what you're going to be and what you're not going to be from someone else's experiences. And therefore, when you see it on that level, because I've supported inmates, baby daddies in jail, getting the canned goods, what they can have, what they can't have, the commissary and the calls, and how it affects the family, and being the girlfriend that got to do the 3 to 5 bid with your ass, and all this other stuff. Like, I've been there, but I've never been locked up. But I don't feel that I've got to be locked up to help somebody that was incarcerated, because I actually walked that walk on the other side, because it affects, they're in there doing the time, but we out here doing the work. They sitting their ass in there doing the time. We are actually supporting them when they're in there. So I can help somebody in that situation, for, like I said, from my own experience, and learning from others, and experiencing things like a teenager, growing up in a house that has a parent that is bi. I got to come in from school one day and see this, you know what I'm saying? How did I deal with that? Okay, we dealt with it. And so if there's some other teenager that's going through that, I can say that I can help them. I don't actually have to be a homosexual to help somebody that's struggling. You know what I'm saying? And it all actually goes by, because we're using our spiritual gifts here also. You know, those things, I've been in situations where I've had to assist someone and I didn't have the knowledge. Spirit was working with me every step of the way and put the things in place that needed to come into place to make some sort of a transformation, whether it was good or bad. So it's a lot, but realizing that we're all on a journey, we're helping others on a journey, and it is what it is. But without the unconditional love, the ego breaking, the trust, the risk, um, doing internal cleansings, building respect and honesty, got to have those components, and it fits together just like a puzzle. So now we actually have our basis just
Sister, I
from that.
said,
Go ahead.
not to cut your wisdom, but
No, go ahead. I was done.
when, when we talk about see, supporting and relating is two different energies. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like when if a person has never been incarcerated, they can support that person during their incarceration. Although the bigger picture is everybody's incarcerated, because when that individual is incarcerated, he takes the entire family with him. But on the physical aspect of it, you only can support, because if you haven't been incarcerated, you have no
Right.
concept of a minute by minute, day by day activities and stress and pains of what takes place during a person incarceration. And so, and unconditional love, see, we use those words so freely, but you have to have conditional love first before it becomes unconditional. That's just like when you're dating somebody. You know, you just don't go all out that same night that you meet that person, and then you talking about going to the justice of the peace in the morning. It's a and you know, and then exchanging body fluids on the spot. It's a period that it has
Mm.
to, that the trust, everything, the love and trust has to be conditional first, and then it becomes unconditional, where it's more, you're opening yourself up more to individuals. And at the same token, when we talking about meeting people where they're at, it's just like uh you for instance, Harriet Tubman. You know, when
Mhm.
people see, when people knew that it was time to run, and people running through the woods, you know, no, you can't go all the way back to the plantation, you know, because everybody, that's gonna get everybody jammed up. And it's the same way when we say meeting people where they at. The only thing you can do is be a beacon of light and hope, and then you can assist them, because everybody don't want to be saved. And we
Right.
have to come to that conclusion and understanding. First, we have to understand that when we give out food, we've had people with suits on that they've had on for 6 and 7 months, filthy, but they say they're not hungry and they're not homeless. You know, so you're gonna miss out on this meal, because I'm not gonna try to persuade you to do something, and because based on your pride and your ego, you're gonna hold the line up, because I'm trying to persuade you to get your stomach full. No, you don't want to eat, then we're gonna have to feed those who are hungry. And it's the same way in life. Everybody doesn't want liberation. Everybody doesn't want to get out of poverty. Everybody doesn't want to get off drugs. So you have to be an example. When people see those who have been in the trenches, and they see how they've been restored and they've risen above that low frequency and that low vibration, that gives others hope. Because once again, we're under this illusion, you know, and we use these different terms and stuff to describe something that is partially non-existent and is partially not realistic. Because when you're dealing with an immoral world, you have to find the people that have morality to deal with an immoral world. You know, so it's a lot to what we do, and this is why I say things have to be taken one step at a time. Do you know, we have to get out here, and you know, if you haven't been on drugs like Gerald was saying, and been homeless and been the pillar of the post, so you have no concept. So, you know, you have to be able to have some type of relation, because people can feel when you know, you haven't shared those experiences, and they will be reluctant to even open themselves up to you, because you can't relate to that. Because I was working in treatment centers, and those who were around me, other counselors who haven't been in the drug subculture, they were being called out by the clients that they were book knowledge, they weren't experienced. And so I was able to be effective, because I was able to tap into that, because I was on that side too. And so we gotta be able to look at things realistically. You know, let's not go above and beyond without dealing with the basic things that our people need, the basic things that we need, you know, food, clothing, shelter, love, you know, understanding, empathy, um, and to be able to just be hope for the people. Because when people see you, that those who know you from a previous existence in your journey, they are witnessing the transformation. They have witnessed that, and so it gives people hope. If they can, you hear a lot of people say, "If I can do it, anybody can do it," and that's true, and that is so true. And so, being an example, being a beacon of hope, and being a beacon of light, and then being transparent and honest, and being honest. This is why I try to, on my podcast, I try not to emulate or imitate nobody. It's based on my energy, my frequency, and my experience and research that I share with the world. And just like you all of you have a different energy and vibration. And everybody's not going to be on the same page, but you can still be in that book. You can just be on different pages, even though you have to completely understand the book. You have to read all of the pages. And so we all have that divine energy. We all have this contribution. We all have been selected. We all have been pulled out of the mud. We all have had these traumatic experiences. But do we live in them? No. Because then once again, you become the people that you're trying to help. You become the one that needs help. And so we have to rise above those things. And like Gerald was saying, look at the day. Look at the now. Because yesterday is history and tomorrow's the mystery. If you deal in the here and now, and then we can focus and work as a unit, and then we can move forward as a united front. Because everybody has something different to bring to the table. That's what makes it so beautiful. Like the sister was saying, the black man, how strong the black man is. And I honor her for that because, a lot of black men don't get kudos and they don't get honored as they should, because there are a lot of them that are doing a lot of good, powerful, historical things out here in this universe. So we can't use this umbrella statement on all black men. And I respect that sister for dropping that gem on us as a tool to motivate us to do better, to move forward, to be stronger, to love our women more, to protect our women more, and be willing to do whatever it takes for our sisters to become the great leaders that they are. Because y'all been through so much. Y'all been through so much. Y'all had to raise children with, and be single parents and all that. That's a hell of a thing to have to endure, and still have a level of sanity. So, but a lot of the brothers out here, a lot of these real, true, strong men understand that. And this is why they're willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's to sacrifice their lives for those sisters who have endured these painstaking challenges into raising children and, to have children touched and being able to still provide love and stuff. And at the same time, be a disciplinarian, not when they decide that they want to take another route, to not be in support of that, but still maintain overwhelming, unconditional love for your children. And so with that, I'm going to let y'all watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. As I said, well, there's nothing like a mother's love. And even if it's not a biological mother, I remember, so we have Naima here just to tell a short story. She knew my mother. My mother's passed now, but she came into our lives years ago and loved my mother also. And she became a very good friend of mine. I was young, but I was always mature, and our frequencies just clicked, and she just became another mother for me. And my mother was the type of person that she didn't mind, because she knew that this is a good person or whatever. So yeah, I've had a lot of mothers in my lifetime. That's how I learned how to be a woman, to keep it all the way live.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, absolutely. Great women.
Mm.
Yes. And
Well,
so that
I think
wraps
that
up
it was a
another
blessing to know
wonderful
you, darling.
episode.
Can I say my rebuttal really quickly?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Take your time.
So, first of all, I want to say I agree with everything that all of y'all have said. Me speaking about us coming from a generation of those on drugs is it's like we can't forget it. Not because we need to relive it. You know, it's like saying forget about slavery. We can't forget it. We can't forget the impacts on today. So although it may no longer impact you, and I do not have a history of drug abuse. I have a history of mental illness, and I was court mandated to Narcotics Anonymous. I went to NA meetings sometimes to keep me alive when I would have suicidal thoughts. I might attend 7 NA meetings in a day. So I did NA for 5 years. And I created a recovery clubhouse, and I will always have an immense and tremendous amount of respect for the recovering addict. I think I have more respect for the recovering addict than I do for the billionaires that I've met. But we got to talk about some of the stuff that happened. Maybe not what your experiences were, but when you have children, my father sold cocaine. My father was a cocaine dealer, and my father's family, I sometimes get ostracized and blackballed because I say that out loud when everybody else says he was in construction. And I'm like, ain't nobody went to work in my house. And he dropped out of school at 13, whereas everybody else has master's degrees and very impressive titles. So I never had the interactions with someone in active addiction. Not saying it wasn't around, but because of my age and some of the things that I saw, I didn't realize that that's what active addiction looked like. But there was an impact. And what that impact looked like is you grew up being a little girl with a father around. So a lot of the guys that I dated early on were like my father. And because they could provide for me like my father. So even if I never saw a drug transaction, the lifestyle that they could provide, their demeanor that they had. So when I got to recovery, I felt very remorseful actually at just how much of the problem I've been by me not knowing. And so although we want to act like that the 70s and the 80s, I'm 44, I was born in 79. So to act like the 70s and 80s don't impact us now, we are the children of that generation. So when you look at us and when you look at us being unwed mothers and deadbeat fathers, we are the children of that generation. So it's still an impact because crack was intended to wipe us out. And then they threw in HIV and AIDS. And, I've heard the stories of some of the greatest mothers on the planet, leaving their kids to go cot for a week at a time. And all of the babies are left at home raising themselves. And although they might have turned out good and they weren't molested or anything else, there was an impact. So we got to talk about the impact of these things so that we can get healing. And I have plenty of certifications, CPS mental health, trauma 1, trauma 2.0. I got a lot of certifications and I'm just as impacted. I got 2 missing children that the police stole while I was incarcerated. So, I got stories there, and I've been street level homeless. So I got stories there. So, we have to have those difficult conversations. I believe that our testimony isn't so. I share not from a space of we. A lot of times I share from a space of I, because it's lived experience. And I believe that lived experience is the best experience. I got a lot of book knowledge, got a master's degree and all of that, but my lived experience is the best experience. And that's because it ain't even about me. My testimony is to share with somebody else so that they don't have to repeat my mistakes, and so that they can also identify and know that they're not in this world alone. So it's like when we hold our testimony so tight, we make it seem like one, we're still punishing ourselves, like there's something wrong with us, and we've been set free from all of those demons forever ago. So it's nothing wrong with us, but it's for us to share with somebody else to pull them through the trenches so that they don't have to relive it, and so that they can heal their traumas. And when we help someone else heal their traumas, we find another trauma of ours, because we're onions and we're going to keep pulling back these layers forever. And so I just wanted to share that, like, the testimony ain't even about us. It's just about our collective community. And sometimes you might share your testimony, and the person who can relate might not even be the person to talk to you. Like, I had a lot of people who would come to me in recovery, and they'd come to me and be like recovering addicts, like, oh, my daughter has schizophrenia. What do I do about it? And I put them in touch with my mom. Like, shit, I can't tell you, talk to my mama. She had to figure it out when her daughter comes up missing and is walking the streets talking to herself. So it's like, we got to come together and share. Resources ain't just financial. Data and information and experience is the biggest resource. Because before there was cash money currency, what do we have? We had our stories. That's where legacy came from. And that's what we got to get back to. So I just wanted to share that to make sure that there weren't any in the world of recovery, there's no big eyes or little U's. Like, you know, we all in this together. We all in different conversations, but we gotta be willing to share, because that's the only way we're really going to heal as a community.
That's true.
Well appreciated.
Absolutely. And so this is another episode of the Tanya 23 Experience and Family. So in the beginning, when we first started, I don't know, I just wrote Tanya 23 and guests, but we can't do that anymore because we're progressing and we're no longer just guests. So now we have a family structure that we're building. And so that's wonderful. Any very quick last remarks on the way out? I want everyone to feel completely satisfied that they got everything out that they needed to get out before we end the session tonight.
I just want to say I'm glad to meet everybody here, you know, and I learned a lot from your conversations, and I appreciate you. And I love you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I love you too. And thank you for joining. Absolutely. Anyone else?
I just want to honor the God and the goddesses that was on here. Really appreciate this bill tonight.
Yes, me too. Absolutely.
May our words fall on solid ground and start growing as we grow together. We plant the seed just with these podcasts. So I give praise and thanks for being that.
Absolutely. I just wanted to throw in there too, for Sister Shantae and anyone else, that we can do breakout sessions. Like you said, if we have a focus. So if we want to focus on homelessness or mental health or whatever have you, I'm willing to do our session. You know, we can do something focused for an hour. We can break out sessions. You know, if you feel like you want to go on and you want to talk about something, hit me up and we can make it happen. So that's what we need to start doing now anyway, is like now micro focusing on specific things like molestation or whatever it is that, you know, the leader wants to talk about. We support in that area. It doesn't have to be me. One of you can lead the talk because that's your area of expertise or whatever. You know, I'm here controlling the controllers.
So it says Melanin Dialogue with Tanya 23 and guests. And I know you going towards the family build, and I have a lot
Oh, it
of
still
lived
says that?
experiences. Well, yeah, but what I'm saying
Okay.
is I have a lot of lived
I thought I
experiences,
changed
but
it.
I'm here for your support. So, as far as I'm concerned, you're the leader in this conversation. So, if there's something of value that I believe that I can add to it, I will, but I'm here for your support. This is your platform, and I'm honored that you would allow me. I sometimes go long-winded, but that you would even allow
Absolutely.
me on your platform. But if I was to start my own platform, that's one thing, but this is your platform, and I want to honor that.
Absolutely. If there is something that you want to talk about, though, you can still reach out to me and we can make it happen. Like, just a show, an hour, whatever. But
Okay.
it's a way of, focusing on something specific, and
Okay.
I'm a humble person. I'm a leader, but I'm a humble person. I'm flexible. I can move around on the chessboard and still be a leader. So, you'll see in time. And anything else? Anyone else? All right. And on that note, it's actually 9:23 for the Tanya 23 experience. That's deep. So we will end on that note. Peace and love to everyone. And we'll be back next Sunday with another wonderful topic to tackle. Peace
Peace,
to everyone.
peace.
Peace. Peace and
Blessings,
love.
love,
Peace
and
and
have a
love.
wonderful week. Have a wonderful week. Ashe.
You too.
And thank you for the
Ashe.
ancestors that have supported us tonight and given us the inspiration to do this. We have armies behind us, invisible armies. So on that night, peace and love, everyone. See you next Sunday.
Peace.
Peace.